Good morning and welcome to today's accessible yoga practice. So for today's practice, if you've got a block handy, it will be helpful for one or two of the poses, but it's not absolutely necessary. But if you've got one, you can grab it. And then at the beginning here, we're going to start up on a cushion. So if you've got a cushion or a folded blanket of some sort that you can use, you can go ahead and grab that. So today's practice is a Hatha yoga practice. It's very accessible. We will begin with some Ujjayi breath. That's the normal yoga breath. It helps, the sound and the sensation of the breath helps keep us grounded and connected with our breath throughout the practice. Then we'll move through some practices meant to build strength and flexibility. And then we will end with another breathing exercise. We're going to do the pausing breath, where we'll pause on the inhales and breathe naturally on the exhales before we rest in a shavasana. And all that should take about 45 minutes or so. Go ahead and find yourself a comfortable seat on your block or your cushion. You can also sit directly on your mat if you prefer. The cushion or the block is good for helping make sure that your spine is nice and long and not rounding. When we're sitting down on a mat, it can be easy to round forward and sometimes elevating the hips with a block, well, you can use a block, but a cushion or a folded blanket can be helpful. So sitting in a comfortable seated position with the crown of the head coming up, the chin pulls in just a little bit to allow the crown to lengthen, and we're pressing down through our sitting bones. And as we root down, we automatically rise up and get a little bit taller. So if you'd like, you can go ahead and close your eyes, and we'll begin to build the Ujjayi yoga breath. So we're going to begin by exhaling out the mouth with an ocean sound. So you can inhale and then exhale like you're trying to fog up a mirror. Inhaling and exhaling, the ha, like you're trying to fog a mirror. Sounds a little bit like the ocean. Good. And now take that same feeling and try to bring it both the inhales and the exhales. We'll stay with the mouth for right now. Inhaling with that breath sound, that ocean sound, and exhaling. And we're restricting the back of the throat to build that sound and sensation. Good. And now we'll begin to breathe in and out through our nostrils. And as we exhale out the nostrils, try to make that same sound like you're trying to fog a mirror. Good. And keeping that same quality will allow the breath to soften just a little bit. To resume a little bit more of a gentle Ujjayi. Feeling and hearing that ha ocean sound, but just a little bit quieter and softer. Good. You can open your eyes. And we're going to attempt to continue that ocean sounding Ujjayi breath throughout today's practice. And I'll remind you several times to return to the breath, as it's completely natural to lose it as we turn our attention to the poses. But we're going to try to connect the poses to the breath as much as possible. So we'll begin to lengthen and stretch the neck, growing tall. Bringing the head slightly to the right to get a nice stretch through the left side. You can use your hand for support, but only if you'd like. Make sure your spine continues to be nice and tall. And switch, stretch the other side. one more on each side. Keeping that Ujjayi ocean breath in and out through the nostrils, and switch. And then with your right hand either on the ground or holding onto your left knee, we'll grow tall on an inhale and lift the left arm straight up, and exhale to lean to the right, getting a stretch through the left side. And you can kind of counter that leaning to the right by holding onto your left knee or by putting your right hand on the ground. Making sure your shoulders are staying in line and one is not crossing in front of the other. Good. And we'll switch side, putting the left arm on the ground or on the right knee. And we'll inhale to grow nice and tall, and exhale to stretch through the right. We're still in this pose trying to stay grounded and connected with the ground by pressing through both sitting bones. And we're going to go ahead and come into a tabletop position. You can put your cushion under your knees if you'd like, or you can move it off to the side. So with the hips over the knees and the wrists under the shoulders, we're going to inhale to bring the chest forward into cow pose, and exhale to lift the belly to the spine, rounding the shoulders and rounding through the back. And then we're going to come back to neutral, pressing through the tops of the feet, lift the knees up off the ground for one breath. Lower on the exhale, and we'll inhale back into cow, bringing the chest forward, exhaling to draw the belly up to round into cat, coming back into neutral with the spine, pressing through the tops of the feet, lifting the knees, take a breath, exhale, lower. Inhale to bring the chest forward, lift the chin and drop the belly. Exhale, pull the belly toward the spine, round the shoulders and the back, and then come through neutral, press to the tops of the feet, and lift the knees. Inhaling and exhaling to lower. Inhaling to bring the chest forward, drop the belly. Exhaling to round to cat pose, and then press through the feet and lift the knees for a breath. Lower, and we'll do that one more time. Inhaling to bring the chest forward, drop the belly, lift the chin. Exhale, round, pulling the belly up toward the spine, release your shoulders. Coming back into neutral, pressing through the top of the feet to lift the knees. And we'll see if we can hold this for 3 breaths this time. If you need to come down and rest, you can. And keep that Ujjayi ocean breath in and out through the nose. Good. We're going to come into balancing tabletop. So we're going to extend the right arm straight ahead. You might want to bring your left hand in just a little bit, pulling the right fingertips away from you, and then put the tops of the left toes on the ground. And if you'd like, you can float the left foot up overhead and create a nice long line between your left heel and your right arm. This is a little bit of a balance, and it's also nice for extending your spine. Good, and release. And we'll switch sides, so we'll lift the left arm up first, pulling the left fingertips away, come up on the ball of the right foot, and you can either stay here or you can float the right foot up overhead, pull the right heel and the left fingertips away, lift the lower belly, and breathe. Good, and lower. We'll do one more on each side. Lift the right arm, come up on the ball of the left foot, and either stay or float. pulling that heel and those fingers away from each other to lengthen the spine. Good. Then left arm up, right ball of the foot, and if you'd like, you can float it up. You're trying to get both your arm and your leg parallel to the ground, so pressing through all of your remaining fingers on the ground. And good. Very nice. All right, we're going to come into thread the needle pose. So pressing through the left arm, we're going to lift the right hand up overhead, and then we'll exhale and cross the left arm behind, the right hand behind the left. And you can either stay up high, or if it's accessible to you, you can drop your right shoulder down to the mat and walk the left fingertips straight forward. Either way is perfectly fine. You'll get a little twist either way. Take a couple breaths. Good. And if your left hand is walked forward, you can walk it back, press with the left hand, and bring the right hand back to neutral. And we'll inhale to lift the left arm up, and exhale, bringing the left hand behind the right. And you can either stay up high and just have a nice gentle twist, or you can drop the left shoulder to the ground and walk the right fingertips forward. Continue to connect with that ocean breath. Walk the right fingertips back and come back into neutral. We'll bring the knees wide, bring the big toes together, hinge back in the hips, and come into child's pose. And you can always put a block or a pillow underneath your chest or your forehead, or put blankets under or behind your knees. Anything you need to do to make this pose accessible and comfortable for you. And it's okay if your hips don't come all the way down to your feet. And if this pose is completely inaccessible to you, you can lay down on your back and pull both knees in toward your chest. And if you're in the child's pose, you can walk your fingertips forward, lift your forearms up off the ground, and hug the upper inner arms in towards the ears. It's a good preparation for coming into downward dog, which is where we are moving next. So with all 10 of your fingers pressing into the mat, the upper inner arms hugging towards the ears, we'll go ahead and lift the hips, tuck the toes underneath, and bring the hips up and back. Feet about shoulder width apart. And we can start here with bent knees. And you're welcome to stay in bent knees the whole time we do downward dog. And you can gently pedal the feet, straightening one leg at a time. Good. If you're working with bent legs and you'd like to try moving them a little bit more towards straight, you're welcome to do that. As you do that, engage your thighs, lifting them up towards your hips, and continue to pull those hips up and back, pressing evenly through the hands and the feet. And on your next inhale, we're going to shift our shoulders over our wrists to come into plank pose. And if you're pregnant or you'd like a modification, drop down to your knees. And then we'll exhale to bring the hips back up into downward dog. And we'll move that into a little bit of a flow. Inhaling to come forward, always being welcome to drop your knees. And exhaling to lift the hips up and back. And go ahead and move through these at a rate that is comfortable for your body and for your natural breathing. Continuing to try to keep the breath moving in and out through the nose. And we'll inhale when we come forward, bringing the shoulders over the wrists. And we'll exhale when we press back into downward facing dog. And let's try to do 3 more. Again, You're welcome to pause, come into child's pose, or stay in downward dog if you'd like. I kind of lost count. Let's do one more after this one. I think that was 3. Good. Come one more time back into downward dog and walk the hands and the feet to meet together in the mat and allow yourself to round forward your feet. When your legs can be a little bit bent, or they can be a lot bit bent, and your feet can be wider apart if that makes the pose more accessible for you, or they can be closer together, especially if you're more flexible in your hamstrings. Try to bring the weight forward into your toes so that your heels are light. If you're feeling really stable here and you want to hold on to your elbows, you're welcome to do that. You can gently shake your head yes and no. Good. And then press through the feet, bend the knees, bring your hands to your hips, and come up to stand. Very good. We're going to move into a chair pose. And you have 2 options for your feet. Your feet can be together with your big toes touching and your heels a couple inches apart, or you can have your feet hip width or even farther apart. And we're going to inhale to drop the hips back like you're sitting in a chair. And this time you want your heels to be heavy rather than your toes. And you can lift your arms up overhead, or you can put them on your hips. Take a moment to look down at your toes. It's best if you can see them. That's best for your knee joints. If you can't, try to bring your hips a little bit farther back. Might mean you need to come up a little bit higher. Good. Let's do one more breath. And on the exhale, come up to stand. Take a breath. And on your next inhale, drop back down. Hips back, heels heavy, arms come up. And this time we can try to cactus the arms, bringing your arms, I'll turn so you can see me, to about 2 90-degree angles, pulling your shoulder blades together behind you. Let's hold for one more breath. And exhale to come to stand. Good, let's do 2 more, one with the arms straight and one with the arms cactus. So this time we'll have the arms straight. Inhale, sit back in your heels, bring your hips back, lift the arms up near the ears, or have them a little bit bent if this is too much on your shoulders. Let's hold this for 2 more breaths. Your lower belly lifted to keep that nice length through your spine. And exhale to come to stand. Last one, this time we'll cactus the arms. Inhaling to bring the hips back. Arms can come up at first, and then elbows can bend to about 90 degrees, bringing the shoulder blades toward one another. Fingers can be spread nice and wide. One more breath here. Good. And come to stand. Very good. All right, we're going to come into a standing wind release. It's also a little bit of a balance pose. So if you need to hold on to a chair or a wall, you're welcome to do that. We're going to bring the arms straight up overhead, and on an inhale, we'll lift the right knee up toward the chest. And just bring it as high as you can with your leg muscles. If you prefer, you're welcome to hold on to that knee with the arms, but if you want a little bit more of a strength builder, you can let go and pull the knee in toward the chest. And try to keep your weight equally distributed between the front and the back of your foot. Keep the lower belly lifted, shoulders down, and fix your gaze on one spot. Let's do one more breath on this side. Release. And bring your hands back down for a moment. Shift the weight to the right side. Extend the arms straight up overhead. And inhale, press through that right heel and lift the left knee in toward the chest. Again, you're welcome to just pull it in toward your chest with your hands, or if you'd like to work the leg a little bit more, you can extend the arms straight up. Pressing through that right foot, eyes fixed on a spot, lower belly lifted, or not, yeah, lower belly lifted. Belly in toward the spine, shoulders down. One more ocean sounding breath in and out through your nose. Good. And release. Now go ahead and grab your block if you have one. If not, you can just pretend that you're holding a block. We're going to do a little bit of protraction and retraction with the upper back. So we're going to start with the holding onto the block, having the block about parallel to the ground. And we're going to start by retracting. So we're going to bring the chest forward and the shoulders back, head in neutral. And then we'll exhale to bring the shoulders forward. So bring the block forward around your upper back. As much as possible, your lower back is staying in the same position here. Come back to neutral for a moment. Trying to keep the tailbone pointing toward the ground and lower belly lifted. And keep this movement in the upper back as much as possible. So we'll bring the shoulders back, chest forward. So we're pulling the block back toward our body, and then we'll exhale to bring the shoulders forward and round the upper back. And we'll flow through that a few times with the breath. Inhaling to bring the chest forward, shoulders back, pulling the block in closer to you, and exhaling, round the shoulders, pulling the block away. And again, as much as possible, keep this in your upper back. Inhaling, we pull the block back and bring the chest forward. And exhaling to bring the shoulders and the block forward and round that upper back. Let's do two more. Very good. All right, you can go ahead and drop the block off to the side, and we're going to come into goddess pose, and we'll do a little bit of side stretching in goddess pose. So with the feet not quite as wide as they would be for warrior two, but fairly wide, we're going to turn the feet out at about a 45-degree angle and bend the knees so that they're just over the ankles. And so you can adjust the width of your stance so that your knees can be over the ankles. And again, here we're moving the tailbone toward the ground, lifting the hips up, keeping the shoulders down. I'm going to go ahead and interlace our hands together behind our head, elbows wide. And on an inhale, we'll grow tall, and exhale, bend to one side. There we go, that's the word, bend. Inhale, back to center, and then exhale to bend to the other side. Inhale, center. Don't let your head fall forward. Keep your head in neutral. Exhale to bend. Inhale to center. Exhale to bend. Try to press evenly through all parts of your feet. Try to keep your elbows wide. Continue to move with the breath. Inhaling to come to center and exhaling to alternate, bending from side to side. Then we'll do just a couple more. Good. Press through both feet, straighten the legs, bring the hands to your hips, and we're going to turn to pyramid pose. So we're going to keep the feet about as wide width as they are to start. We're going to internally rotate this left foot and externally rotate the right. So now the right toes are pointing forward, and the left toes are still turned out, but they're at about a 45 45-degree angle. And your heels can be in alignment with each other, or you can bring them a little bit farther apart for a little bit more stability. And you can adjust your feet. You want to try to wrap this left hip so that both the left and the right hip are facing forward. And try not to let the back of your foot come up off the mat. Press through the left foot and lift that left arch. Engage the right thigh, and leading with the chest, we'll begin to come down into pyramid pose. So here, trying to keep the spine as long as possible. We're not doing a lot of rounding, trying to lead with the chest. Keeping that right thigh engaged helps release the right hamstring and lets you get a little bit deeper into it. Stay connected with that ocean breath. You might find that as you breathe, you can move a little bit deeper, but take care that you're continuing to bring the chest forward to keep the nice length through the spine. Good. Now, next exhale, press through the right foot to come up to stand. And now we'll begin turning the right toes in so that they come to about a 45-degree angle. Turn the left toes to face the left short side of your mat and wrap the right hip so that it's in line with the left. Good. Press through that right foot, lifting that left arch. Engage, or your right arch, sorry. Engage, lift your right arch, engage your left thigh. Hands can come to the hips. Lead with the chest and begin to fold forward. You might find that one side is more flexible than the other. This side is less flexible for me personally, but it's completely normal to have different flexibility on each side of the body. Try to keep the chest pulling forward to keep the spine nice and long. Continue to breathe in and out through your nose. And on your next exhale, press through that left foot to come to stand. Very good. All right, we're going to turn and face the front of the mat. And we're going to do a half sun salutation just to come down into downward facing dog. So standing with feet shoulder width apart on an inhale, we'll sweep the arms up, and exhale to fold forward, keeping the weight in the toes. Inhale to come up to a flat back, bring your hands to your shins and pull the crown of your head forward, and exhale to fold forward, placing your hands on the ground, stepping back with one foot and then the other, and then lifting the hips up and back into downward facing dog. We'll hold downward facing dog for 3 breaths before we rest in child's pose. Keep your ears between those upper arms that are hugging in. All 10 of your fingers are pressing strongly into the mat. Very good. And go ahead and drop your knees. Bring them wide, big toes together, and come back into child's pose. You can relax the arms this time and just take a few breaths as we prepare to do a short sequence on the ground before we move into our breathing and our rest for today. Good. And walk your hands towards your knees. You can come into the center of your mat if you'd like. And we're going to come into baby camel pose. So for baby camel pose, we're going to press through the top of the shins. There we go. To come up, to lift the hips, and bring the knees about shoulder width apart, feet straight back. And we're going to put the hands, the palms of the hands, on the lower back and point the elbows behind you. And on an inhale, we're going to lift the chest, lift the chin. We're going to feel our lower back remaining nice and straight with those hands on the lower back. So you'll feel if you try to bring this into your lower back because your hands are pressing to try to keep that lower back nice and strong. And this back bend, as the case with our yoga back bends in general, we really want to keep it as much as possible in the upper back. Our lower back gets lots of wear and tear, so we want to protect it. So keep the lower belly engaged, keep the tailbone pointing toward the ground, and bending in the upper back. Good. Come back to neutral, take a breath, and then we'll do that one more time. On your next inhale, bring the chest forward and up, lift the chin, and breathe. And come back to neutral. You can sit back on your heels and swing your feet around so that your feet are straight out in front of you. We're going to come into staff pose, and we'll begin with bent knees. And if you're pregnant, you can bring your knees wider apart. Good. So you're going to see here we're trying to get that nice length through the spine. If you notice or feel that your back is rounded, return to that cushion that we started on, and that should help you keep that length. Again, also keeping your knees bent here at first will also help you keep a nice straight spine. Good. And the hands can be at your sides. And on each inhale, grow tall through the spine, and on each exhale, see if you can straighten your legs just a little bit. You might reach a point where you feel your back begin to round. That means you've reached your edge. Back off just a little bit and hold there. As much as you can, grow tall with each inhale, and exhale, straighten the legs just a little bit. Once your legs are completely straight, you can press those thighs into the ground. Pull the feet back towards your forehead and make sure your spine is nice and long. Good. If you've got some space and you can hinge at your hips and your sitting bones, you can begin to walk your feet forward. Again, if you're pregnant here, I recommend bringing your legs a little bit wider. It's very easy, as I was doing there, to begin to round, try to keep the back as flat as possible. And engaging the thighs helps release the hamstrings. If you can reach your toes while keeping the length in your spine, you're welcome to do that, but you're also welcome to hold on to the ground or even to bend your legs a little bit again to help you fold forward with a flat back. And we'll do 3 more breaths. Very good. Okay. All right. We'll go ahead and come off of the cushion now. Now we're going to move into boat pose. And if you're pregnant, I recommend just go ahead and lay on your back and bring your knees into your chest for a little bit of a wind release. But otherwise, we'll play in boat here for a moment. So we'll start hugging the back of the knees and straighten the arms to keep the back nice and long. And if this is not accessible for you, you can put your hands behind you. You can begin to play with lifting one foot and then the other. The most important thing here is to keep that spine nice and long. You can try lifting both feet, and if you can keep your spine straight, you can try letting go, bringing your arms out. If you have a lot of flexibility in your hamstrings, which I don't, you can work your legs towards straight here. Wherever you are, stay connected with that ocean breath. Good. And then put your feet flat on the ground, and we'll slowly, one vertebrae at a time, roll onto our back. Very good. All right. We'll go ahead and straighten legs. You can bend one if you'd like. We're going to do some leg raises, and we'll do one leg and then the other. So with the left foot flexed and the left heel pulling away from you, right foot also flexed. We're going to lift the right foot as high as you can while keeping keeping your whole lower back glued to the ground. And then we'll lower it. And then we'll switch sides, trying to press. You can put your hands on your hips to press those hip points in toward the ground to make sure your lower back is staying flat. If you need to bend your legs a little bit here, you are welcome to do that. We'll just slowly move one leg at a time, trying to keep those hips nice and square. And if you've got your hands on your hips, you can feel your hips to help make sure they're staying square. And one hip isn't trying to lift or twist when the leg comes up. And just move slowly and easily. And we'll do one more on each side. Very good. Go ahead and bend your knees. And we'll come into happy baby pose, holding on to the back of the thighs. Or if you can reach your feet, you can wrap your feet around the outside, or wrap your hands around the outside of your feet and pull your knees toward the ground. So your knees are nice and wide. Your lower back may come off the ground a little bit. Try to work it toward the ground, but if it's up off the ground a little, that's completely fine. And take a couple breaths here. Good. Release to the ground. We'll do reclined pigeon, and then we'll prepare for our breathing exercise. So we're going to cross the right ankle over the left thigh. You can stay here, or you can pull your left knee in towards your chest by interlacing your hands behind your knee. Go ahead and keep your feet flexed here. Reconnect with that ocean breath. Hear and feel the sensation as you exhale, as if you're fogging a mirror. Good. And release. And we'll cross the left ankle over the right thigh. And you can stay here, or you can bring your right knee in towards your chest and keep your feet flexed. And we're working the lower back toward the ground. If it comes up a little bit, it's okay. Again, connect with that ocean breath. Very good. And for our breathing exercise, before we come into Shavasana, we're going to come back up. We'll move slowly. Come back up into a comfortable seated position. You can grab your cushion if it's nearby. And find, once again, that comfortable seated position. And we're going to do some breaths with pause. And this is really good for calming nerves. First, just connect with that Ujjayi ocean breath and begin to try to bring symmetry to your breath. So inhales and exhales, equal length. If you'd like, you can close your eyes here. Nice, smooth, even, deep breaths in and out through your nose. We're going to begin to build some pauses into our inhales. At the beginning, we'll breathe in halfway, pause for a few seconds, inhale the rest of the way, pause for a bit, and then we'll exhale slowly and completely without any pauses. So we'll start with one pause, and we'll slowly build toward 3. If at any point you're feeling any strain or dizziness, either back off, not breathing quite as deeply, or even returning to a natural breathing rhythm. So exhaling completely, we'll inhale halfway, pause, inhale the rest of the way, pause, and exhale slowly and completely without any pauses. Inhale halfway, pause, inhale the rest of the way, pause, and slowly and completely exhale. Do one more with one pause. Inhale halfway and pause. Inhale the rest of the way. And pause. And exhale slowly and completely. This time we'll inhale about a third of the way. Pause. Inhale a little bit more. Pause. Inhale a little bit more. Pause. And then slowly and completely exhale. Inhale. Pause. Inhale. Pause. Inhale. Pause. And exhale. Inhale. And pause. Inhale. And pause. Inhale. Pause. And exhale. And we'll do one more like that. Inhale. Pause. Inhale. Pause. Inhale. Pause. And exhale. If you want to stay with that version, please do. If you'd like to attempt to inhale a quarter of the way with an extra pause, you can try that with me now. So inhale, pause, inhale, pause, inhale, pause, inhale, pause, and exhale, slowly and completely. Again, inhale, pause, inhale, pause, inhale, pause, inhale, pause, and exhale slowly and completely. We'll do 2 more like that. Inhale, pause, inhale, pause, inhale, pause, inhale, pause, and exhale slowly and completely. And last one for today. Inhale, pause, inhale, pause, inhale, pause, inhale, pause, and slowly, completely exhale. Very good. And we'll go ahead and move now, moving nice and slowly into our Shavasana resting pose. So you can lay on your left side if you're pregnant. Otherwise, you can lay on your back with your knees together and heels wide. This is nice for your lower back. Or if your lower back is feeling okay, you can straighten your legs, having your feet about mat width apart, arms extended out to the side, palms facing up, bringing the shoulder blades together, allowing as much of your body as possible to connect with the ground. Allow your body to release and become heavy. You can allow your eyes to soften and close. And you can resume a normal and natural breathing rhythm. And we'll just take a couple minutes or so here, allowing everything to release. If you'd like, you can notice your breath and just watch your inhales and your exhales. Or you can allow your attention to soften completely and just allow yourself to be for a couple of minutes. And I'd invite you to stay here for as long as you'd like. If you're ready, I'll bring you out of it, but if you'd like to stay, you're welcome to do so. If you're ready, you can gently wiggle your fingers and toes. Slowly open your eyes. Moving nice and slowly, you can bend your legs. Roll onto your left side. And using your palms, you can sit up into a comfortable seated position. Hope you take a moment to thank yourself just for showing up today. It's no small thing to show up and practice. I thank you for practicing with me, and I look forward to sharing yoga with you again soon.